everybody. This is Keith Gleason, host of Indie Comics Relay and creator of the Mighty Mascots. And I'm here with another 5 questions with the Indie Creator video. Before we get into that, just want to remind you that Mighty Mascots issue 7, 8, and 9 is still in demand on Indiegogo. This will probably be in demand for at least, probably till at least the end of the year as I create the issues. We're getting pages in left and right from Ian and Anton, which is great. So issue 8 is almost done. Issue 7 is almost fully completed as well. I have a few pages left to letter. And then we'll be starting right on issue 9. So this will be great, So we're trying to chug right along. We unlocked a couple, stretch goals already. And we're trying to unlock the temporary tattoo, which is at 10,000. So once we get there, that'll be great. Everybody gets a temporary tattoo. So we're about, my math is horrible. About 25, a little over, like 2,600 away, something like that. So, yeah, so maybe we can get there, So it'll be really awesome, So, all right, so check that out when you get a chance. Yeah, so we're doing another 5 questions with an indie creator segment. This is we started doing these as I started doing these as a way to help indie creators. Our live streams are so scheduled out, and we only do one every other week, except for in rare instances like this month we're doing some weekly. But we try to keep it bi-weekly, and we often have to schedule people as far out as like 4 or 5 months. So, things pop up that we want to try to help people, and we came up with this idea to do 5 questions with an indie creator and also promote them at the same time, that kind of thing, So, this month's indie creator, the 5 questions, is Rubin. He was on the show with us a couple times in the live stream as part of the Comic Book School, which is a comic book making education program started by Buddy Scalera, who used to work for Marvel Comics, did Deadpool, a few other things. Ari is one of the guys that helped out with all those comic book. They make like an anthology every year, highlighting different creators, things like that. So Ari was one of the creators that helped that out, and he wanted to. He's promoting a Kickstarter, so we decided to help him out. So. Hang on one second. I'm going to bring up the questions here. All right, so let me show some of Ari's work. He's working on a novel, I believe, or a novella called Into That Darkness Peering. And this is his novel, some of the images he shared with me. I guess it's an illustrated novel, kind of like a little bit of storybook, that kind of thing, but it also has a lot in common with comics, illustrated novel. This is cool. The artwork is really nice. Looks like he shared some really cool images here of this book. So it's called Into That Darkness Peering. I'll put in the links. I'll put some links to where you can get this, or where you can follow Ari to inquire about it in the description of the video below. But yeah, now we want to get into the question segment here. Hang on one second. Let me pull up the questions that I asked Ari. All right, so here we go. I found the questions. Okay, so question number 1. Was your graphic novella Into That Darkness Peering influenced by any horror movies, books, or comics?
Into That Darkness Peering is heavily influenced by Edgar Allan Poe and other Gothic horror writers. The title is taken from a quote from Edgar Allan Poe's most famous poem, The Raven, and each of the 5 chapter headings are also taken from other poems and stories by Edgar Allan Poe.
All right, number 2. What are some of the qualities that make up a good horror story?
I think for me, a good horror story is more than a jump scare. It's more than slasher, violence, whatever, more that type of thing doesn't really appeal to me. The kind of horror that I like is more atmospheric. It's more gothic, traditionally gothic, more psychological. I really like Poe, obviously. I like Ray Bradbury's earlier work, which is very gothic. I do have a thing for classic monsters, but I'm not really into excessive gore or violence for shock value. It's more of an atmospheric, traditionally gothic 19th century horror that appeals to me. Again, nothing against those other genres for anybody else, but that's what I like.
Number 3, are your characters based off any famous horror archetypes?
There's 32 different stories and poems in this book. Many of them are based on classic horror archetypes. We have a vampire story, we have a couple of werewolf stories. There are some references to some allusions to some stories by Edgar Allan Poe and some other Gothic writers. We have one that's related to the Wizard of Oz, one related to the classic story of how the devil gave the blues to Robert Johnson down by the crossroads. So there are a number of classic horror characters and archetypes that are represented in the book.
What was your biggest challenge as a writer bringing this story to life?
The biggest challenge creating the story, it's not really a single story. It's, like I said, a collection of 32 poems and microfictions, and it was trying to figure out how to package them, how to present them as a coherent whole. And I think using the framework of these various Edgar Allan Poe quotes allowed us to create a unified experience between all of the different poems and stories, and really transport you into this kind of nightmarish, atmospheric Gothic world. I think also the consistency of the art, and Marika's art is beautiful in this book. And I think really as you turn from one poem to another, even though each one is its own individual thing, each one stands on its own, I think that the consistency of the art and of the style of the art really ties the book together and makes it into a unified uh, whole that as you're reading it, it really keeps you in that world.
What kind of advice would you give a comic creator about making comic books?
My biggest advice to comic creators or any creators is that there is a lot of advice out there, and not all of it is going to be relevant to you. You'll hear the same things over and over again. And one of my favorite quotes is by Bruce Lee. He said, "Absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and take from it what is truly your own. Make from it what is truly your own." And I think that's good advice about advice. You don't need to follow every single piece of advice you're going to be given, and you're going to be given a lot. But you should still listen to what people say, especially people who are successful. You will find um, you will find people who you naturally gravitate towards, who you think your work is like, you think your process is similar to those people, and maybe you should listen to them. Maybe there's something you can tweak that will allow you to achieve the success that they have. But if you try to follow everyone's advice, you're going to end up with a lot of contradictory things. You're going to end up trying to change your process into something that it isn't, and you're going to really take away the fun and the reason why you got into this in the first place. So listen to the advice, process the advice, but also deal with it critically and see what really applies to you, and what you think will be the most helpful for you in your career.
And here's a fun bonus question. What is your top 3 horror movies of all time?
Um, I tend to like horror books more so than movies. But if I was to have to say movies, I would go with first the Aliens franchise. I thought that was great. I'm a big fan of science fiction, so I naturally gravitate towards that. The the old uh, the old Frankenstein movie, the first one with Boris Karloff, is always been one of my favorite. And even though it's a TV show, not a movie, I really do like the Stranger Things franchise. I think that's excellent gothic horror. But for me, in terms of horror, it was always the books Dracula, Frankenstein, even Wuthering Heights, these types of classic books, as well as in comics, The Sandman, and all of the related worlds to The Sandman and Constantine and all of those types of things.
And then finally, I asked Ari to end it with, please give us a quick 2-sentence elevator pitch for Into the Darkness Peering.
Into that Darkness Peering. 32 fully illustrated gothic horror, poetry, and short fiction nightmares, written by me, fully illustrated, beautifully illustrated by Marika Brasiano. You can get it on Amazon in either paperback. It's a beautiful book to hold, to flip through to see the art, but it's also available on Kindle and Kindle Unlimited. Thank you, Keith, for having me. It was a blast. Really appreciate it. Have a nice day.
All right, that was great. Ari did a great job. I tried to boost up the sound a little bit. It looks like it was recorded very low, so hopefully that didn't give you guys feedback on your sound systems there. So, but yeah, I just wanted to end this video, let you know that we have a live stream this coming Wednesday. Join me and Johnny. I think it's going to be him and Johnny and the crew that he's doing the new anthology with, the Wayward Raven guys. We've had them on the show before. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So join us for that on the live stream. Yeah, that'll be it. You guys have a great week. Definitely take care and then read some comics. All right. Have a good one. Bye.
Ahoy, mateys! 'Tis I, Captain Horatio Honeyflakes, and I be here to tell you about me newest crowdfunding campaign. The adventures continue with me crew, the Mighty Mascots, in issues 7, 8, and 9. Just focus your looking glass on the amazing artwork of Ian Warianto and Anton Bondi. Me crew, the Mighty Mascots, are up against some scurvy scallywags, and we need ye help to defeat them. There be a bounty of exclusive treasure, only available here, where X marks the spot. I spy a huge coffer of bonuses and stretch goals on the horizon. Then please consider pledging so we can continue these adventures with the weirdest crew I ever had the pleasure of sailing with. Mascots Unleash!